Hey everybody, this is Scott Bowman. I'm the creator behind Idea Brickworks, and welcome to episode 12 of Brick Building Together Apart. This is going to be a little different show. We are going to switch it up a little bit. So Joe Chambers, who is a regular, and you'll see him in the lower right corner, he has developed an incredible Skylab mock that is going to be a kit soon. I have been working on a International Space Station scale version of the space shuttle that will also be a kit. Now, both of these kits are going to be quite large, quite expensive, and more complex. And so I am going to host Joe's kits on my Etsy site, and also I'll be posting my kits. And this is an experiment for both of us in some ways, because we have other projects in mind, other things we'd like to do, and so we're going to see how this works. And we're in the process. Joe's quite a bit farther along than I am. So this episode, we're going to kind of talk about the process. We are actually going to be finalizing some details. We'll be talking about Etsy and some of the weird things about Etsy and deciding how we're going to come to market. Please, any numbers or dollars that we might talk about at this point will be all preliminary until we finalize things. We're really not going to talk about our costs at this point, because you don't want to see grown men cry. And so just know that we're going to spend hours and hours and hours and make very little money on this. So this is for the love of the brick, right? This is for love of space. It's for lots of different things. This is not going to be, I'm not going to be turning my Porsche into a track car based on the money I'm going to make off this. So it's just understand that this is a passion, not really a great business model.
And I'm not going to be adding a turbocharger to my Subaru Crosstrek.
Okay, yeah. You don't have a minivan? What kind of parent are you? You've got to have a minivan.
No. If we have more than one kid, then yes. But I think we're close.
So again, with us is Mr. Jones. Sam is with us from the UK. Luckily, he's off his deathbed. Apparently, the last 2 days it was a little touch and go, and luckily it wasn't COVID. Yay! And then also we have Mr. B, otherwise known as Sam. So if you hear multiple Sams, it's a slip. I nicknamed him Mr. B, and it seems to have stuck at least. We all have to admire his beard. I really kind of like it. Got to show it. There you go. I love it. Also with us, but not just in image, is Peter. And Peter is actually going to be a collaborator. Yeah, I'd say that's a good term. With me, because I plan on having a custom sticker set with my set or with my kit. And so Peter has volunteered to kind of put that together. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit. And so it's going to be a different show, but hopefully, you'll get a little insight into what it takes to put a kit together, which hopefully will scare you out of trying it, doing it yourself, because it's only for professionals. So just know that we're just basically crazy.
Stand by. Professional what?
Yes.
I was going to say, professionals. Is that what we are?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So with that, I know that a couple of us are going to be doing something different. So, Mr. Bradford, what are you doing?
I am test building my tower erector, which is supposed to be released in a couple weeks.
For the
Falcon 9.
Okay. I remember that. Is that going to be available as instructions? Is that what?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, I need to iron them out, but they're pretty much done. And this will be free from everybody.
Cool.
Why don't you send it to me and I'll see if I can get rid of that problem you were having.
Yeah, I can do that later.
Okay.
Yep.
I might be able to help you with that.
And then also, Peter isn't on camera because apparently his studio/room is in disarray. So what are you doing in the background, sir?
I'm working on some decals in Photoshop, unrelated to your project, but soon to be related to yours.
Great. I thought what we should start is with Mr. Chambers. What if you kind of went through what your project is? This will be an introduction to the community and to everyone. Although I think everybody on this stream has seen your stuff before.
Yeah, there's the first thing that caused my insanity.
Exactly. Multiple insanities.
Multiple.
You weren't nuts already before that?
Oh, it was latent. It was just under the surface. Then I hit my midlife crisis, and everything exploded.
Of course, I had to wait till I was 58 for my midlife crisis. So.
Wait, hang on a sec here. Does that mean I'm going through one now?
Yes, you are.
Oh my word! No, I'm too young for that.
Yeah.
I'm 33 and I've already had 3.
Yeah, I went through a quarter-life crisis a decade ago.
Quarter-life crisis.
Okay, anyway.
And that's when you became an engineer.
Oh, that's when I was... No, never mind.
Okay. Remember, no drama, right?
Okay, I'll try to not
I
cry.
thought it might be fun if you could show a few things, on the model, and I don't know if you can get your camera in close, and then maybe even share your screen and show the I/O model and maybe your instructions. Because I think, just to talk about Joe, because he won't talk about himself, he is really an incredible builder. He actually came to this a little late. This has been recent, and he jumped in and he's done some really incredible stuff. The Skylab is a personal obsession, okay, with him. And I learned the first time I met Joe was at Brick Slopes 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. And I thought I knew a lot about Saturn V. No. Joe is an incredible source of information. And so I'm always impressed with what he does. He's really good at putting together the instructions, but his booklet is actually going to be very, very close to what the Saturn Ideas kit was. In other words, there's going to be a lot of learning possible. So even the booklet is going to be really, really fun to learn from, to read about, and that kind of stuff. So anyway, with that, now that I've exploded his ego, we will let him talk, and I'm going to check in some Lego while you do that. So.
Okay, do you want me to show this off first, and then we'll go into
Absolutely
models? Okay, so this is the finished prototype of my 1:73 scale Skylab. In case you don't know what Skylab was, it was a project in the 70s after the Apollo program, in which it was the only thing that survived from the Apollo applications program, where they took technology developed for the Apollo program and applied it to different things. They actually took a S4B stage from a Saturn, well, it was actually a Saturn 1B, but the same stage that goes on a Saturn V, and they made a space station out of it. The living quarters is actually inside the liquid hydrogen. And I don't know. I'm into kind of the weirder, less known stories of space history, and Skylab is just a perfect example of that. The program only lasted a couple years, and it really forwarded our knowledge of space and living in space by quite a bit. So the joke is that one day I was like, I accidentally started making a 1:73 scale and woke up one day and found that it was like 3/4 finished.
It's a
And then I
miracle.
found out I did the scale calculations wrong, and so I had to redesign it. So this is the finished model. You can see it has an Apollo era command and service module on it, like the real thing did. If I can, this is actually really tough. Lego doesn't have very many cones out there. And so I had to do interesting little thing right there. Those are actually fairly expensive parts. Among the parts on this, those are among the most expensive. Are those little 2x2 slopes.
I think that's because they haven't made that many of them yet.
They really haven't.
But they're very useful.
They are. They're very useful. I wish they were more readily available. Right. So, if you're familiar with the Saturn V set, which a lot of people here are, this section is actually based off of the main body of the Saturn V. It's actually I started with the S2 stage, the second stage of the Saturn V kit, but it is modified to the point that you wouldn't be able to recognize it. So I always like to say where I start the project from. So that's where I started it from. The interior looks nothing like the Saturn V kit. Yeah, so this is the prototype. This is the model. I guess I'll share my screen and show you.
Yeah.
Can figure this out. Okay, so can everyone see that?
Yeah, there we
Yes.
go.
Gorgeous.
All right, so this is the model. There are a couple differences between this and my prototype, but it's just a matter of different parts being sourced. Scott, do you want me to explain anything in particular about the methodology of building a model like this?
Sure, because it's very interesting. I mean, you're showing one aspect right now, which is the idea of submodels.
Submodels, yes.
Really help us build more complex instructions, that kind of stuff. So this is a really good look into the process of using Studio or any modeling program, really.
Yeah. Taking it one little bit at a time.
Yep.
Originally, what I was going to do is I was actually going to split it up into 3 different instruction sections, but found out that I could actually do it easier if I just jammed it all into one. But the key here is when you're building a model like this, at least my experience, is that anytime you have a repeated item. Sorry, that was actually a good example. I should have kept that up. Whoops. Anytime you have an item that's repeated a bunch of times, that's when it's a good time to make it into a submodel.
Yeah, I agree.
For instance, this part right here is actually a submodel that's repeated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So I don't have to show it being built in the instructions multiple times. It just says, build 5 of these. Problem is that now there are 3 more two of them, or one of them is unique to the other two. It actually makes the instructions really easy to follow. So let me pull this up. One of the other neat tools here in Studio that I've been using a lot, especially with trying to build a kit, is if you go up here to model, go to model info, it has a breakdown of all the different parts that are used in this model. You can see there are 1,400 parts in the model, 209 unique parts in the model, and it'll also show you the total price of the parts.
Which is based on the average price
It
of
is
the
based
parts.
on, yeah,
Bricklink.
based on the average parts sold on Bricklink.
Yep.
That price you see right there, or don't look at it, I guess, is really inaccurate compared to how much I paid for the individual parts.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
What was that?
I said I'd agree with that because they told me my TARDIS was going to be like 200 quid. When I put it in on Bricklink, 700 quid later, I'm there going, I think I'll pass. You're right.
Oh no.
And it doesn't include shipping.
Yeah, that does not include shipping. Okay. So the other tool I found here that was really helpful in designing a kit is I can order the list by the price, highest price down to lowest price. And so with that, I was able to go, oh, these prices aren't necessarily accurate as to how much you're going to pay, but they'll give you a good proportional cost. I tried as hard as I could to get rid of this part out of my model because it's the most expensive part in the model. I wasn't able to get rid of it. Same with this part and this part. There's just some of these parts, they don't really have a replacement. And see right there, that's the little 2x2 slope. You can see they're about 34 cents a piece. All right, so that's the model. Yeah, again, what my process was, I built this thing virtually in Studio, made modifications to it as I built a prototype, et cetera, et cetera. And then at the end, or kind of close to the end, I started looking at part cost, part availability. Were there things I could switch out that would make the cost of the overall cost of the model lower? And I started doing that.
Right.
And yeah, just because I have ADD and I'm kind of obsessive, I went whole hog into the details of this thing. Yeah.
Okay, well, we've got a guest, a previous guest on the show who's asked a question for you, Joe, and it's from
Hi.
Joe Dino.
Oh, hi, Joe.
How's it going, man?
His question pops up on the screen now, and he wants to know if you're going to include any info on how Skylab was supposed to look like.
Oh, that's a very good question. He's a great straight man. Because I was going to ask that question.
Stand by. I also made a version which showed Skylab as it was supposed to look. Because if you know anything about the story of Skylab, while it was being launched, the micrometeorite shield tore off, exposing the hull, and they had to put this sun shield over it. And it also tore off. I tried to do damage as best I could right there. It tore off one of the solar wings. So I have a version of the same kit that is the as designed version. So because I'm insane, I am going to build both versions. Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I'm putting this down on a note. I think that for both of our models, having a video that they can go to kind of like the build video for my Saturn V. And these models are a little too complex to do a full build video, but it'd be fun to do a video of the actual history behind our models, right? Because I've learned a lot about the shuttles and which ones helped build the ISS and which didn't. So I think so I'm putting that to our list of what we need to do.
I might do
What kind of build video are you talking about?
What was that?
What kind of build video do you mean exactly?
Well, not so much a build video as a introduction to the history behind the model.
Okay.
Like the ones we've done, like the ones Scott's done for his winged Formula race cars, his Saturn Micro Saturn 5 ones, the ones that he's got on his YouTube channel for other people to, when they buy the product, they also get the link and they can go and view the video and see all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Right. And with our excellent, well, we have two producers with us between Peter and Sam. We could have some real images. We could have some kind of fun stuff that could go into that and still make it like it wouldn't have to be much more than a 10-minute video to have that. I was going to think, Peter, if it might be fun to have one of your piece videos. I know you use Studio to do that, but the one where kind of the pieces all fall into.
I can definitely help with that.
I do like those videos. They do mesmerize me a little bit.
So in our house, my youngest or my oldest daughter, she spoke with a vocabulary much past or much farther than she should have, or would be typical. And one of the things is, when somebody is mesmerized, she would say it memorized me. Some of that kind of stuff. So, and she would also, like, we'd go to church and she'd say, "What did you bring to amuse me?" So that's our. Anyway, which if you have kids and you've gone to any kind of event, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, yeah, now you're talking about instructions.
Instructions, yes. What would you like to know about instructions? Because I don't like to brag, but if there's one thing I'm really good at, I like making instructions.
Oh, you're sick. That is.
There's nothing wrong with you, Joe. Have we ever told?
I don't know, because there's something about it. I don't know what it is. I just like making instructions, making it look nice.
If anyone is in Utah, go and help Joe right now. Take him out for a beer.
We need an intervention.
I thought we weren't allowed to drink on this thing.
I said take him out for a beer.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, like Scott was saying, I can't just make instructions. I have to give some background. I have to tell the stories about Skylab that I love. And so, my really, you graphic designers out there might laugh at this. All I did was take a rendering of my model and slap it on a picture of Earth,
Right.
To be fair, I think I pretty much would have done the same as well.
I may need help doing that, but I need to do that too.
Right. And so my instructions, they come with the stories of Skylab. They describe everything about it. I had to. You might go through my instructions and say, "Wow, you wrote a lot," but I cut it down. So let's go to the example that I was talking about earlier.
I'm sure you're meant to be selling people on this.
Say again?
I said, I'm sure you're meant to be selling people on this.
Yes, you are.
Buy this. You'll be really bored. Okay,
Oh,
so
give you
this
some
is-
VR training.
Yes, we do.
this is the example that I was showing in the model of doing submodels. I was able to show how to make this submodel in 3 steps and then show where those go in the main model, all within 4 steps, so all contained on one page. That I've noted is to me, that's kind of key, is showing complete I don't know, what would you call it? Complete a movement in
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
within an even number of steps. Like it might be more than, it might be more than an even number of steps. I will change the number of steps on a page to make sure, like, see, I go from 2 steps per page to 3 steps per page because it helps the flow of what's going on.
Hmm.
I wish there was a better way for me to say it.
Yeah, there is and I think Lego defaults. I mean, 1-part steps to me are pretty worthless, unless
Yeah.
it's such a weird position. But I do try to limit the number of different parts in a step to 4 at most.
Mhm.
Now, if some repeat, I still try to have like just 4 elements, or like if there's one element that is 5 times, that might be a step. But yeah, you've got to, it's a balancing act to
Mhm.
make sure that it's logical. But I'd say I put more steps or more parts into a step than Lego does.
Yeah, and I agree, mostly because the people who are getting my instructions, I mean, especially my, my monster LUT, these are experienced Legoers. I don't expect anyone to. I mean, I try to make it as clear as possible, but like when you have, especially with my LUT, there were 1,200 pages of instruction for a single
Right.
and so, yeah, I just had a brain fart. I can't remember where I was going with that. Anyway, there was one other thing I wanted to show on here, and of course, a studious person could probably be recording this and be like, "I don't have to buy Joe's instructions. He just
Oh yeah, I don't think so.
yeah." Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to show that, like, I'm not. I can't tell you what I am first. Am I a space nerd first, or am I a Lego nerd first? And looking at my instructions, you might think I'm a space nerd first, and I would agree because I want to think about the Apollo telescope. Yeah. Where did it come from? What did it do? Even my if you can see my Delta 2 back there, my head's in the way. My Delta 2 instructions are probably the shortest instructions I've made and released. Even with that model, I went through and said, hey, this is the first stage. It gives this amount of thrust. It's powered by this. It's fueled by this. I'm just a preeminent nerd. How about that? And anytime my wife is surprised, I'm like, you knew what I was. What? Anyway, let's see. Another. I'm gonna close this out. Another thing that I take into account when I'm doing an instruction set like this is because I've made 2 versions. I'm also looking at what are the minimum amount of changes between version 1 and version 2 that I can get away with.
Yes.
For instance, let me go to the as designed version. go into its construction instructions. Ugh. I'll stop talking soon, God. What are the minimum amount of changes I can make between the two versions? Whoops, I was clicking on the wrong screen. So this is the as designed version, and the first page is go to the other instructions. 53. I'm not going to redo them here.
Right.
And so once you get to step 64, replace step 64 to 126 with step 1 to 65 in this set. So all I'm doing is the minimum amount of changes between the two types, so that first of all, I have to do less work. Second of all, I know less people are going to do this version. I don't want to put in the effort.
Well, now this makes me really want to do this version.
Yeah, really? I did this version because someone actually asked for it on Facebook. Can't remember who you were, but thanks for asking. I did it for you. And again, you get to different steps in this, and it says skip this part, go to this next part. So the first instruction set was, I can't even remember how many pages. Have it right here. The first version, the instructions for the first one is 162 pages. This is 65 or 56 pages.
Yeah. One thing that's interesting is you are doing this all in studio. I do the steps in studio, export them as PNG files, and then create mine in Affinity, which is kind of a less expensive European version of Adobe, in both a publisher version and a Photoshop clone kind of thing. And
I love Affinity.
well, and it works well for me, and it was, what, 50 or 60 bucks, and you basically you get the updates for the rest of your life. So it just I just couldn't see doing the, what is it, like $500 for Adobe Suite? I mean, it's
That's
big,
different
big
now.
money.
The Adobe Suite is $50 a month.
Yeah. And I spent $50. That's it.
That's incredible. But I will admit, like 3 years ago when Adobe switched to subscription, I got a little upset. But it's been definitely worth it because they've been able to dump so much money into R&D, and just with Photoshop itself, just has these content-aware fill features where you can drag around a stop sign or anything you don't want in your photo, and it just erases it in seconds. And it's like, in the past, it would have taken so much longer to clone out. Just the amount of AI they're able to put into it now.
I used that properly the other week for a picture for work. And, it was stupid little things like removing drill holes from a wall and things like that where bits haven't been plastered over and all that. And you're just going, dirt, dirt, dirt. In seconds, it was done. And I'm there going,
You guys fight until it gains sentience and takes over the world.
Right.
Yeah.
And not to plug my own channel, but I recently did a speed build of the Harry Potter Hedwig. And if you're not familiar with it, it's Hedwig's an owl. And this Lego model comes with a crank that you turn to make the wings flap. Well, at the end of that video, I did a stop motion of the wings flapping. However, while filming it, I had my hand on the crank.
Oh.
But so each frame I took had my hand in it. And then I went into Photoshop, and for those 20 frames, I just drew a selection around my hand, and it was instantly gone.
Oh man.
So if you look at that video, you can see wings are moving, cranks turning, but there's no hand.
It's great things like that.
Gotcha.
Anyway, business expense. For
So,
And
a couple of questions from viewers, mainly directed to Sam Bradford or Mr. B. Kevin Huang and Dan Fallon are both curious to know what are you building? What are you working on right now?
I am building my tower erector for the SpaceX Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy, which I have showed on previous shows here.
Yes.
So that's
There
what I
we-
am test building.
And hello to you guys. I see you guys on the Facebook group a lot. So, hello.
Yep. I talk to those two all the time.
Yes, yeah, I see him very active. A question from Kyle Setowitz, who
Go ahead,
is
sorry.
another regular viewer. Has anyone taken a file from Studio and imported it to LDD to make instructions? Would this be easier or just the same amount of work?
I have tried that. I have tried going backwards from Studio to LDD. I have not been successful at doing it yet. I
haven't either, and plus the instructions that you get out of LDD are really horrible. They really don't build well, and until you do instructions, you don't realize. I have a process. I'm sure you well, we know you do too, Joe. I design it, then I will create steps, then I'll test build using the steps. I always change it, right? It always changes as you start to build it because you realize that, oh, I've got to hold it this way in order to get the parts right, or I can't really see the parts the way that I can when I render it. So you really can't do that on LDD. I will admit, LDD is a great place to learn how to assemble a model, right? It's much more intuitive. It's simpler. The interface is simpler. So I always tell people that if you're going to start doing your mocks digitally, start with LDD. It's a great place to learn. But the minute you kind of advance to the point where I'd like to do instructions or I'm really doing a complex assembly, make the switch to Studio. It'll be frustrating for a while because the interface is different. But
And
once you get to learn it,
there are some keys.
there are.
Yeah. But I totally agree.
Okay,
Thanks,
let's talk a little bit about taking your model to market.
Okay, can I show you this?
Okay, so I'm doing the.
Is this your packaging, Joe?
There is one Skylab kit.
Hang on, Dad, let me put you up front here.
Okay,
Ah.
there you go. That's one kit right there.
Wow.
That
Okay,
to that.
that's a pretty big box.
Yeah. It was again, I'm trying this for the first time. So
So how many parts did you end up? So as I don't like the normal name you put on it. I was going to say as flown.
as flown, yes. As built and as flown.
So how many parts is as flown?
1,404. And the as build, I think, is only like 40 parts more. Like it's not, you know what? Have models up.
I was going to say for 40 parts more for
50 parts more.
50.
1,453. in the as designed, and the as flown is 1,404. So
So
very
if-
close.
how many extra parts? Well, now you say that
49 extra parts.
49 parts. So as as I was thinking about how we put this on Etsy, the first level that we talked about was really just a PDF, right?
Mhm.
So that is an electronic delivery, which Etsy allows very easily. But I can't do the electronic and the physical as different options. So we're going to have one item, and we'll have to have a number. And if you don't mind, I'm going to issue you a number based on my numbering, just because that makes my administration easier. Is that acceptable to you?
Sure.
Okay. So that's going to be one item. And are you going to include the both as flown and as designed in that level for the instructions only?
Yes. So the thing is I set up an Etsy store. You could technically buy my instructions right now because I went through and just wanted to try it out. I haven't really been advertising it because this was just an experiment, and yet 2 people have bought it. So just the instruction. So I was just trying this out.
Right.
So my plan was yes, both versions are included. Just because they're so the one is so intricately tied to the other. So yes, both are included. But in the future, I'm probably just going to be going through Scott's store. I just had to have the experience myself.
Right. Now, we talked a little bit about a printed brick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tell me about this. I don't know anything about that.
Sure. So I use bricks and minifigs, which obviously you've got local. And it is printed in Salt Lake City. I don't know which store it's actually printed out of, but I've got a really good relationship with them. I get really good pricing because I actually leave brick with them. So like I'll send them, because I'm doing lots of the Idahos. They have some brick, so I just say, hey, I need 25 of this brick, and they print them, and then they mail them to the Bricks and Minifig here. So I can get you set up with them. They just need a good file, high resolution. So really, JPEGs aren't very good, but PNGs or what's the vector? EPS is the other version. Any of those have enough detail, and you'll get a very good image. Now, you can't really print on curves with their system, but anything flat, even they did the flags, and his name's Matt, the guy that does the printing. But so they were actually able to do this on a 1x2 cheese slope, and were able to build so that they could print my flag on the shoulder. So, so you can slopes they can print on, but curves they can't.
How about curved slopes?
My entire thing is a bunch of curved slopes.
Right. So then the other option is whether you want to put your logo of or if you have a logo.
I do have a logo. Thank you very much.
Let me. I'm trying to think if I've got one without, because I'm on a tethered. I have a tether. I can't go very far from mine. But yeah, so you can print on a 2x2 or a 2x4 tile. Then it could be something that could be shown then on your model or with your model. Also, the stem moonshot is, now let's see. I don't have that here either. Not that I can grab.
Is
So,
that the logo you want, Joe? Okay, so Joe's request for a logo.
No. Thank you to brother-in-law Tom, who photoshopped Benny's face over astronaut Alan Bean
yes.
and put my name over Bean.
Ah,
Yeah, okay, I'm done. No,
Now, the other thing is you could do, so I'm working with a new vendor for my stickers, and I've got to say it was a very, very difficult birth, but the new stickers are phenomenal. And Sam, you should have gotten some from Sarah. Did you get them yet?
I haven't had them yet because Sarah's not been to the office. So
right. So the quality is super high, even for what he calls the prototype machine. But at this point, his minimum order for the super high quality is 1,000. Well, my Saturn V, that was doable, right? That made sense to me. So I did get them for the Saturn V. But I'm working with him because of the prototype machine that had had just as good a quality. It's not quite as shiny, but it's got a much better adhesive, or more closer to Lego's adhesive, and also very good image rendition. And that's one thing you'll notice on the stickers, the new stickers for the Saturn V versus the old, was the resolution is so much better. The pixels don't bleed as much. The printer is just obviously better. And so stickers are an option. It's going to be a much more complex thing that we'll talk about for the shuttle, but it could be a very small sticker sheet that might be anywhere from, I think at most it might be $1 a sheet, just because of the low number that we'd probably talk about. But it could be something you could then sell as the next step. So the next step might be just instructions only. Then the next step would be instructions plus stickers. And another step that we talked a little bit about was a nicely printed manual plus stickers, which is what I'm planning. Those 3 steps I'm planning for my model. So how many, especially since your model is as flown, are there any kind of stickers or images on Skylab?
It was actually remarkably bare of any kind of. There was an American flag on the forward docking port, but that was it. There really wasn't anything on it.
Not like, yeah.
The only custom part I would see making for this is maybe just a tile that says Skylab on it.
You know what? And I don't know if he could print on this, but think about what if you did something that was kind of similar.
Okay. Yeah.
Now he can print across multiple tile too. It might be. I have not asked him, and I could. I'll put that on my list.
Yeah.
To add.
No, something like that would actually be really neat. Oh, please don't give me more items in my hobby.
You can say now you'll be designing a proper nice stand for it with a.
Yeah.
It does have a stand.
It does have a stand, and I very finely engineered that stand. Thank you very much.
It looks very nice.
Better than the one for the ISS.
What was that?
Is it better than the one for the ISS?
It's not as bulky.
Right answer.
I did, I took off my electrical engineering hat. I put on my mechanical engineering hat because mechanical engineering is that easy.
Now, I cannot come back the way I need to, okay? Because this is a drama-free zone.
Okay.
So when this session ends, Mr. Chambers, we are going to have words.
Anyway.
So,
yeah,
Joe,
we're doing
winner of our Wooden Spoon Award.
stirring the pot. Oh boy.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're talking about like what things to offer, I would say, yeah, instructions. If you want a printed manual, here's the thing. I looked into doing a printed version of the manual.
Yep.
Just to print one, $25.
Yep.
So you'd have to be like a real collector if you wanted that. There's a lot to be said about, yeah, Lego prints out this nice booklet, but they're also printing 20,000 of them.
Exactly. And I think that, if we offer it for both of ours, I think it's on demand and we can change the numbers, right? So, or the delivery. So it doesn't have to be in 5 days. It could be 1 to 2 weeks. So we wouldn't necessarily have to have them in stock.
Right.
You can just say, yes, we will do that, but you get a little longer presentation.
For sure.
So, and I assume that's cost, not so. What we'd want to do is make sure that it covers the cost of,
right.
Your time to go get it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, what is this?
I'm just trying something. Don't worry about me.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I see. You turned him off, but his screen. But
Yeah, I was trying to get Peter's screen to show as a small icon rather than half the freaking page, but you can't do that.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
So,
Now,
yes.
just so you know, to finish the printed brick, the printed brick is probably going to be, the cost of the brick, and I don't know what that particular part costs, but let's say it's 50 cents, which would be on the very high end. I would guess the printing, depending on if we want one, it doesn't really matter the number of colors, but like white on black takes multiple passes. The kind of UV cured ink, you have to go over it. So some of my like white on green, which is one of the options of my Brick Idaho, he has to do that 3 or 4 times printing on it to get it to jump out. Now, any color on white, easy.
Oh,
Usually
really?
that's just a one pass. So the pricing isn't, and it's also set up. Like my little shoulders, that was a little more money, even though it was an image on white. His setup was higher, right, to print it. So, but I have not had anything yet that cost more than 50 cents. So we're talking about $1 a piece. So for one printed brick, that's kind of the number I always use if I'm going to do something printed. So I think a lot of people like printed brick, right? I think one of the reasons my kits sell is they either have stickers or a printed brick. Because it's unique, right? It's something they can't really get otherwise. So I would recommend doing a printed brick. So maybe this option of doing something similar to the ISS, adding that to your base makes a lot of sense. Plus, that works with some of the other stuff you've done, that could become your kind of signature piece, right? So if you do more kits, that could be something that, okay, if I'm going to get a Joe Chambers kit, I know I'm going to get it, that kind of fun little adder, right?
Gotcha.
I'm in the club.
Well, you know about my usual Easter eggs that I put into my models?
Is there one in this? Yeah.
This.
Oh yes.
What's more manly than putting a Princess Unikitty brick into?
Exactly.
Perfect. So you know, we definitely have to buy a kit. Just for that brick alone.
So as a side note, Princess Unikitty shows up in my LUT. I've had more emails about, is this pink brick necessary? Than almost any other question. And my answer is always yes. It is a very important structural member. If you exclude it, it will fall down.
Yeah. Well, and I saw the googly eyes in Crawler too. So.
Oh yes. Bender the robot is in the Crawler. And there are a few other googly eyes in the elevator shaft of the LUT. Like, I try to put something in there so that people aren't incredibly bored building Legos like you'd be incredibly bored building Legos. Anyway.
Okay, so
So
just thinking about how we put this on Etsy, I think that doing a PDF electronic delivery with an option to get a printed brick, and basically then that's just going to cost you a first class stamp.
right.
So it seems to me that is one entry with an option.
Right. And so my other thought was, you offer the full kit, and I am looking into getting. Let's talk about packaging in a minute.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about options first, okay?
Okay. So my thought is, I have the standard kit, and then also you have the standard kit, and then where did I put it? Doesn't matter. And then also offer a upgrade kit, and that kit is all the extra parts you need to make the as flown version. It doesn't cost very much. What was that?
I guess I thought your normal was going to be as flown, the 1404.
I'm sorry. The as designed version.
Okay.
Yeah. So you make a separate kit of just the parts you need for the as designed version. It's either that or you make a specific kit for the as designed. One or the other.
I was gonna recommend it as an upgrade. So
okay.
The
that means you will have a bunch of extra parts that you're not going to use, like these
doesn't like extra parts.
Tan tiles. Yeah. Who doesn't like extra parts?
I've got loads of extra parts lying around. Could always do it more.
Yeah.
So I think the next option is the full kit as flown with an option to get the as designed additional pieces. And that would have the PDF plus the printed brick.
Yes. I think if you buy the kit, that the printed brick just comes with it automatic.
I think so too, because you've already spent that. Now, if they want the booklet, they can go back and buy the booklet, because frankly, the price, it's not going, really that's a standalone. You want it because you're a collector.
Okay.
Right? So I don't think you want an option to get the print. Well, although that's pretty easy to add in as an option.
Right.
So I'm going to need 2 of these.
This is a very messy process. My brain is a very messy instrument.
Again, the differences between electrical engineers and mechanical engineers. Anyway.
I really can't wait till the end of the show now.
I am so constrained. You have no idea, folks.
Oh, man. Okay.
Just so everybody remembers, I'm like the Captain America of the group here. I remind everybody of their language. And that was one thing we did before the show.
Sorry, Captain America? Captain England?
Didn't he do something in the last movie, though, that because all of a sudden, didn't Tony Stark say something about like language to Captain America?
I'm trying to think of the most British thing. Lieutenant British Isles?
No, then you do understand there is a Captain Britain as well.
Oh, there is.
There is, yeah.
I'm not into.
And
despite what my shirt might say, I'm not into comic books. So
sometimes Peggy Carter is Captain Britain.
really,
Yeah.
Not a great example there, Peter, but I'll take it. I have been known on occasion to don a wig on a weekend.
Okay. What did you just say?
Hey, got people's attention.
I've done it once too.
Samantha, I hope you're listening.
Thanks, Scott.
Scott, I should show you. I did a half drag queen photo shoot once, where half my face was a drag queen and the other half was my beard. So I shaved half my beard off.
Oh, that's fun.
Did pure drag makeup on the left side, and then it's on my Instagram somewhere if you guys ever want to go hunting.
Okay, back on topic. I'm just getting
sorry.
Sam Jones in a wig. Okay, I think my action items is I will talk to Bricks and Minifig about their ability to print on that kind of iconic 4x6 with the open space. Is that something, Mr. Bumgarner, you're willing to work on as far as the image that might go on that?
Of course.
So maybe you two offline can talk about what that might look like.
Yeah, and I can't imagine it being anything super complex. Just
Then I will start thinking about what the setup looks like for the first item being the PDF and the option being PDF plus a printed brick. And then we go to the, I guess the booklet with the printed brick, because of the physicality of it, either has to be a separate item because of shipping. We've got to give them something that calculates the shipping.
Yeah.
Or we only really add that. We assume you're going to go in and buy the full kit, and it's added on. Because one of the things I discovered when I started to try and even set it up for my kit was you can only give them one size and weight. So everything's kind of got to fit within that, which I think we can do with the kit, the upgrade, and the printed brick, because we can have enough fluff in there. Plus,
Yeah.
the little secret I'll expose of Etsy is your shipping that you pay isn't always what we pay. And there's some risk, because sometimes if you order multiple of my items, I may have to pay more than you actually pay. And so, but to me, that's a good risk because I've made a little bit on some of the others that I've sold. So overall, it kind of washes out. So we would just figure out what that weight is fully packaged going on. So do you agree? 2 items, one's instructions, printed brick. The other one is as flown, upgrade kit, and printed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're matters, not exclusives or exclusive. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Now you wanted to talk about packaging.
Well, first I want to say, Mr. B, I wanted to see the. Are you? Yes. That's looking good, man.
Yep, this is the base.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got some notes to how to remake the instructions, but yeah,
Yeah.
as one does.
Of going live does help you build it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Man,
Cool.
Maybe I'll have you help me make a Delta 4 launch platform. 'Cause-
Ooh, yes.
Yes. I could.
I'll do
excited.
something else.
Anyway.
Packaging.
Yeah. So, I do kind of want to make a custom box for this. And I was looking into that. Again, like the booklet, when you're doing a custom box, it can get pretty expensive.
Yes.
So what I have right now is, again, I'm just doing this right now for fun and because I can. I have five kits worth of parts, and they're all separated out.
Right.
You kind of saw how that they were divided into. They're really they're divided into bags, but they're not divided into like. This is the first part of the instructions. You know how Lego does it? They'll have like first part of the instructions. Here's all the parts you need.
Right.
You've gone for the chaos approach. I like that.
Well, no, well, yeah, for right now it is the chaos approach. I want to know. I've never built I've never bought a mock kit before. What are they usually set up like a normal Lego set is?
When I've had Scott's kits, Scott's bricks, the bricks for Scott's models, obviously we're talking a lot smaller scale here, but Scott's stuff is all just in a bag or just in his envelope, and you crack on and get building. Some of the larger stuff, I have seen it just arrive in just a bag.
Just a bag.
A bag with all the parts that you need. And, you know, because everybody has their own method of doing it. Some people, when they get a Lego set, despite the fact that it's got bags 1 to 5 or whatever, or bags 1 to 18, they'll still open every single bag and then lay each brick out and go, I've got every part I need, it's all in order, and then go, right, now I'll start. So everybody's got their own different way of doing it.
I'm going to show you I have one kit so far. This is going to be the second one that will probably need a box. And it's my medium gift box, which I don't want to pull my computer all the way off the table. So this is the medium size box with lid, and it's just too many parts. So this is the box, and it's a white box. I think I get these at either Home Depot or not Home Office Depot or like a Staples. So
Okay.
it's made out of white cardboard. It comes in, this one happens to be an 8.5 by 11, and I think it's 2 inches thick. So it's kind of a document box.
Right.
It may or may not be big enough. You might have to kind of experiment.
Uh-huh.
But then what I do is I print those graphics based on, and I can give you some of the language and even, because I'm kind of set up to do it, maybe I print it and I just send it to you. But because there's certain information you want on the label. I'll give you the disclaimer that we've got to have and all that kind of stuff. But that kind of size of box, we can do things, and you'll notice, I don't know if I've got a good, so there's kind of the physical side. And so I kind of got, and I don't have a good picture of it, but I have something on, it was 2 8.5 by 11 sheets. And what that did is it allowed me, you can see my cursor, good. One of the sheets just went right on the top of the box. One actually allowed me to do an end, the front end, and both of the other ends.
Okay.
Now it could be a front and a back. You could have a front and a back, so we've got a lot of options. And I just found, I am now using online labels for my stuff, and they have an incredible glossy that takes the inkjet so much better than what I was using from them before. So I'm going to convert to them, and they make a full sheet version. So even if we have to cut it, we just use I have a paper cutter. I use a large one. So, so again, it takes some graphics. I do that. So that could be part of my services to you, Joe, is.
And then you glue it onto the box?
It's self-adhesive.
Okay.
And then in this particular one, I sell at retail. I just take a piece of that and I put it on like to seal the box. So it's really easy to cut that.
Okay.
Or you can get little clear dots is another way I've seen it done, just like Lego does.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a nice box. It opens up kind of like an ideas set, how the ideas set opens. So
So with a kit as large as Skylab here, doing a mock kit is something like that. Would that seem appropriate?
yeah,
Okay.
that's much better than the bag option.
Well, I mean, I'm going to put the pieces in bags inside there.
No, but I meant what Sam was talking about. A lot of people don't put as much time in the packaging as I do. I know that. And this isn't, Joe's probably still on the line, but Joe Mino, his kits do come in a bag with his instructions, and his instructions are quite well done, frankly. But that's just the way he goes to market. But I also sell retail, so, and if you do shows, like if we ever get, BrickCon is coming up. I am probably going to be a vendor for BrickCon, even though I'm not going to be there. I'm, because I'm at a race.
but it's now all virtual, but they're going to have a virtual marketplace. And they're, the entry is pretty low, like $50. So I'd only have to sell 2 or 3 Saturn V's to make that worth my while. But I'm still talking to, because I had lunch with Dave Shefsick yesterday. There are now 2 Saturn V's in Boise, Idaho, just so everybody knows, if you're tracking where they are.
Like the big ones?
Yeah.
Yeah. One's in my garage and one's on display. So,
Okay.
because I'm upgrading, the Museum of Flight is getting upgraded to my version 6.
Oh,
It's just because I'm insane.
yes.
I was going to say, Joe, you think you're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this would be a very nice package that would show well. And if you do end up doing more than 5, one of the things you could shift to would be, again, this, you wouldn't necessarily, let's say the best happens, you sell all 5. We could have it with a long delivery, which I had when I had stickers.
Get the order, then you start putting the kit together.
Exactly. So I think we've got and that wouldn't change everything. It just really allows more flexibility, because there are commission only people on Etsy do. They might have a large build, and I might do it with my large brick Idahos. That basically it gives you a cost range, and you finalize through negotiation, and then you sell it through Etsy. So it wouldn't be quite like that, because things would be known, the pricing would be known, but it does allow you to get the money, right? So you have the money to then put it together and mail it out, so.
Right. Okay.
So I think that
gives me a lot to think about.
So if you would go like to an Office Depot, or if you want to go online, just look for the white cardboard, because I think they just look classier. They just, and then I've got the stuff that can print very nice to box it up, right? To make it look good.
Well, I think what I'll try is actually getting it, well, at least for the first couple, is getting those printed. I mean, because I've got a really high quality plotter at work.
True.
That I could try to do that. Yeah, let's talk about logistics later. But yeah, that sounds like a good idea. My other thought was that, or I guess the question I want to ask everyone else who has a little experience with this is, if I were to divide all these parts up into, or all the pieces up into different parts of the instructions, what kind of packaging techniques, or what's the maximum number of parts I should put into a bag? So like the parts don't get jostled, or not jostled, but like scratched and dented from each other. Is there a methodology I should look at?
Well, I don't know about how everyone else feels, but I would definitely put the smaller pieces together, like your any 1x1 bricks, which we know Scott hates. So you've got none of those in there.
Right.
I've got a ton of those in there.
So, yeah, just to expand on what Sam is saying, just basically study like one of your favorite Lego kits and how it's been packaged. All your Greebling 1x1s all together. If you have big glass pieces, definitely put those by themselves, like any transparent pieces. You want as few as there. The few big pieces together in a big bag, and then I really wouldn't worry about your bricks getting scratched, like your 1x4s and stuff like that. I would say those would be safe to put together. I don't know if Scott, what your input is on this?
To date, the most parts I've had are 133, and I still put them all in the bag. I'd say what's important to me is that the bag is pretty full.
Is
That
what?
helps with is full. So
Okay.
I just happen to have this. So like this bag isn't that full. So the parts move against each other.
Mm-hmm.
If it's tighter, they just don't move as much. So now Lego doesn't do it that way. Their bags are pretty loose, but all of my packaging tends to have the parts kind of immobile. They don't move around a lot. And I think that's somewhat just by accident of the kind of packaging I use, kind of snugs up to the parts. So,
Okay.
but again, for a custom mock like what we're doing, my plan is just the 3 segments. I'll have the bricks for the shuttle, the bricks for the stand, and the bricks for what's added to the ISS. That's going to probably be my 3 bags inside a box.
Okay.
That's where I'm headed.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to play around with a few ideas, but that makes
Okay.
sense.
Can we talk about mine now? We spent an hour and 20 minutes on you.
It's all about Joe.
It's all about, electrical engineers. It's all about themselves. They're just
Darn right.
Joe and I are taking over this podcast.
And for something called building together apart, the only one who's actually doing any building is Mr. B.
Well, if my screen could pop up, you could see what I'm building.
No.
And I never build anything.
Yeah, that's true. This is kind of a whole
This is a
Twilight Zone episode of brick building together apart.
Well, on a side note, my wife and I we're moving next month. We decided to get out of Lake Point, so I'm not going to be building anything new over the next little bit. I'm just going to be moving.
Moving to Idaho?
Yeah.
No, I'm moving to excited Bluffdale, Utah.
Excited Bluffdale, Utah?
Yeah,
That's
about
quite
half
a
a
name.
mile away from the current penitentiary.
Bluffdale, Utah.
Bluffdale.
I tell you what, I'm just Googling it because I've never heard of it.
Uh-huh. It's right by this mountain, or this formation called Point of the Mountain, where there are a whole lot of paragliders jumping off of it. So if we have someone accidentally land in our yard, great.
Apparently, there's also a museum of national curiosity there.
Oh, interesting.
We're very close to the Utah Aquarium. So
Next to the cat graveyard?
you what now? Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Talk about your space shuttles, Scott. Is he gone? He's gone. Woo!
All right.
He's not gone. He's just elsewhere.
He's
a
So-
that describes so much of my life. Joe's not gone. He's just elsewhere.
Oh, I see. He did his. Okay. He's just you put your webcam on your.
That's
Okay.
a clever idea.
It is. Okay. Enough about Joe. So my kit is smaller than Joe's. Now I can't remember the part count, but I'll show you that in a minute. Let's get this. So I meant to do it before, but I had this little trip up to Riggins, Nebraska, where we exchanged a Saturn V from the trunk of a Toyota Corolla to the back of a Lexus. So that took like 8 hours yesterday because we also had a 2-hour lunch, and no adult beverages were even involved. But some really good steak fingers and fry sauce. I highly recommend Seven Devils Saloon in Riggins, Idaho. Good food. So mine, the original ISS from Ideas came out, and it has probably the worst space shuttle ever made. It's not to scale. It's not very attractive in my mind. And there have been lots of versions made by at least 6 others that I know of. And mine is a loving derivation, improvement of that. It has been audited by Mr. Bradford and the other admins of Bricks in Space. I plan on giving credit to those other builders because obviously, making derivations of people's work is something we do, and I am going to sell these. I don't know how many will get sold, but right now my plan is to have 5 available for a first run, and that I've been collecting brick for that. So this is what it looks like in the docked mode, and I have made modifications to the stand in order to allow it to be displayed in this manner. So the kit, as I envision it, is going to have a stand, so it can be displayed by itself. It can also then have the parts needed to change the stand and the one part that's needed in order to allow the docking. Because I couldn't do it all with the stand. I had to make one modification to the station itself in order to do that. So this is what it looks like docked. Quite a few pieces have come off of the base and don't go back on. And then I've added probably a dozen, maybe a few more to do that. I'll show you that in a minute. So it comes undocked, and always this part stays. I have not been able to make the fez part always stay on to the brick. It just doesn't like it. So the only piece I added, let me get a pointer. See if I can get. I had to add a 2x2 round in order to get the docking station. And this is the docking station that was always used for the shuttle. I'm pretty sure this is what they used for Crew Dragon. Can somebody else confirm that?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so because I saw that. And I don't think the Soyuz, the Russians, can use this.
No, they have to use the other side.
They have to go back to the universal docks, right?
Scott Manley on YouTube just recently had a really good video talking about the international docking port that you're talking about. If you want to go on YouTube and look up Scott Manley.
Okay.
I think Mr. B can agree.
Yes, he did. Great video.
Great channel. Anyway, go ahead.
So that allows you to display it in the normal manner. You'll notice in order to do it, I had to lift up the display. This normally occurs right in the center, but otherwise it allows everything to be the same. This clear piece allows it to be the exact same. It does tilt like less than a half a degree, and I know that because I had to do it in
studio in order to make sure that it could attach. And it really came, it's so close. It's like half a plate thickness. Or it could be like the flange on a snot brick thickness, which is just be a couple millimeters. So anyway, that's kind of the docking portion. So it really is to do something that Lego should have done, but it would have increased the price of the ISS, which is still fairly reasonable for an idea set.
Yeah.
But I will have the stand, and the stand does allow to be displayed in whatever angle. So, and just so that, make sure so who's sorting?
That'd be me. I can mute myself.
It's very, your microphone's picking it up wonderfully. So this answers your question, Peter. It does, those hinges have enough friction that it can put it in just about any attitude. If I get them on. It does have the Canada arm. And the Canada arm is built similar to the ISS version, so it has somewhat of a similar scale. Unfortunately, this angle piece only comes in the gray, but I'm hoping to do a sticker right here that could be the Canada arm that would be white. Some math is going to be involved here. So Joe, don't try this because really it takes a mechanical engineer to be able to figure that out. I did change the docking port from the version that Joe Chambers kind of likes because when I started doing research on the stickers, it really became clear that the docking port, which is basically like an elbow, it goes into the cabin, comes out, and that is actually what docked so that they could have it open. Now, in the beginning, they could actually still use the Canada arm as they were building because the Canada arm didn't get installed until the full bracket assembly was on there. So now they've got an arm that can reposition aspects of the space station as needed. So it does actually close up. There are some differences because of the scale, and that is that I don't have quite as clean of a side as a typical, but I think it's more important to have the nice opening doors. I also opted for, I originally had the smoke black, and frankly, I'm going more for the, kind of like you see the wooden models made of airplanes. They just have painted glass. Plus, this allows stickers to become the upper glass and the glass that would be on the inside. So as far as the windows that they've actually got. So that's my plan. The base, originally this kit probably would be retailing in the $100 range with the original parting, but I've simplified things fairly dramatically. So the base is much simpler. Making it black saved a bunch of money. Making these black, even though they're a little more pricey, but it's much less than 5 1x2 bricks, and it's more rigid. So I did it for that reason. So, and then also, I think, Peter, you kind of mentioned this, the idea of instead of the angles I had in the first version, these triangle pieces, which aren't cheap either, but I think they really kind of add to the thickness of the wing, which is actually fairly thick on the shuttle because it's got to hold the wheels, right? So it is actually thicker on the real model. Now the nose, the original version, version 5, which I think you've got, Mr. Chambers.
Yep.
What you'll notice, and I don't have a previous version, but the real difference, and this I learned by trying to get the scale correct. I looked into that size. This model is a little bigger than it should be, but mostly by the nose, this particular nose piece. But if you look at the real shuttle, the nose is quite long, because if you think about the cabin, the lower cabin goes farther into the nose than the upper cabin. And so I felt it was important, because of being a stickler for details, that the nose have that length. So the proportions from the bay to the windows and from the windows to the nose, I think is more appropriate in this. The other thing that you'll notice is the bottom's flat. If you look at the shuttle, the nose only comes up a little bit. I tried a couple other versions of the nose, and I still like this triangle piece that's basically 2 plates thick. So that's a little, but I made the bottom flat, and because it actually, from a proportion standpoint in profile, it looks better than some of the other options that I had. The other thing I did was extended the bottom here, which added a couple pieces to the, is it OSTB orbital? These are the only engines that have fuel on the actual orbiter, and these are used for large attitude adjustments, altitude
The
adjustments.
OMS engines, the
Yeah.
orbital maneuvering system.
OMS.
OMS, thank you.
OMS, yep.
And I
Same,
noticed the bottom.
same engine, the AJ-10, that is used on the command and service module, the Apollo command and service module. Those are the same engines.
Really? Didn't know.
Yeah. Also used on the upper stage of the Delta II, and is going to be the main engine on the Orion service module.
Cool.
Yeah, sorry.
So well proven, basically.
Yes,
I do have
very
a
well
question,
proven engine.
guys. This model actually has 2 different parts that I want to get your opinion on. So this is using a fez hat.
Yes.
I know, I'm getting there. And
Oh, by the way,
one,
you can read more about the AJ-10 engine in my Skylab instructions.
Joe, we are off of Skylab.
Oh.
Now, the other one is a cone that I think is only new this year. Maybe it's 2 years old, but I think it's 2 plates tall, so it's 2/3 of a brick. It's a little broader, but I like the back of it. And it's actually less expensive on a per part basis than the Fez. The Fez is like 30 cents each.
Yeah, those are
cheap. This one is like 15, so it's like half the price. So anybody got big opinions?
I don't know. Joe's been sat in the naughty corner for a while.
I really like the towel changes and the nose change. I do agree with the flat. bottom is better for the profile.
Yeah, I think.
And then I just wanted the OMS. You said that's the only fuel on the orbital.
Yes.
Is that the hydrazine one?
It uses monomethyl hydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide.
Okay.
I shouldn't say there is fuel up front too.
Right. That's the ones I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So the RCS, the reaction control system thrusters, also use the same kind of fuel.
yeah,
Shut up,
okay.
Joe. Nobody cares.
highly toxic, highly acidic, really dangerous.
But they use them because they're stupid simple. You don't have to spark them. You just squirt
Correct.
them together and they explode.
Right. But they have to be combined, right? If they just spill.
So that cone piece you were talking about.
Yeah.
What's its is it decently priced?
Yeah. This one is less expensive than the Fez.
Okay. Because I did see it. It is literally only just a year old. But it seems to be available in 3 colors at the moment, I think.
Yeah. Black luckily being one of them.
Yeah, the best one for you. Okay.
So I actually have enough of these, and I ordered almost enough of these when I wanted to try it. I guess, what do people think? Because I've got to make a decision as I finalize before I take pictures.
Can you put the 2 pieces side by side, just apart from the shuttle? Or I should say orbiter.
Thank you.
Yes, exactly. I don't know if you can.
I do like the wider base one. I think the one on the right is too skinny.
Yeah, I agree with Peter on that.
And as far as like how those engines actually look like, I would say the Fez looks more real, but the one on the left looks more model appropriate. I don't know how to say that. Yeah.
Okay. I was going back and forth, and
Because the original Fez piece looks like it's, I mean, at this distance, it just looks like a 1x1 cylinder.
exactly, where this looks like a cone. I also like the inside looks a little more like a thruster, where this looks like a target. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
So, Scott, Kevin Lang reckons Fezes are better in his opinion.
okay, so we got.
Okay, so Kevin and I are against the grain on this.
And so he
Only because of Matt Smith, or is there a real reason?
What?
What was that?
That was directed towards Sam. But
Oh.
I said, was it only because of Matt Smith, or is there a real reason?
there's no real reason here. I see, if I was going for me, I would say I love the Fez because of Matt Smith, but you know, but just in what I saw there, they're going. The wider one does look better.
Okay, I'm making a command decision.
Well, and Scott, this is a great example of like
Version 7.
of sourcing parts. Like if it comes down to, yeah, they both look great, but this one is half the cost of the other one. If you're putting together a kit, then go with the cheaper one.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. And
it's 50 up in the air.
you know, except for certain parts, like the triangle piece. It
Right.
is more expensive than a 2x2 corner plate, but frankly, I liked it so much better that to me it added value, right?
Right, and I think that was the caveat is if all other things being equal.
So
Cheaper.
another one that I changed is this part is now a 1x1 tile. Yes, I have 1x1s in this model.
That image is going to be burned into my brain now.
I know. This was a half round, and A, it added a lot of cost, and B, it wasn't giving me kind of that smoother flow that I wanted. It wasn't adding value. So I decided to go with that.
So that's what that looked
Yep.
like in the previous
Yep.
version.
Now, another big difference between my kit and Joe's is I think I need to go to the stickers, because obviously the shuttles were extremely stickered, right? They had a lot of stuff on them. So this is my scribble
I
mark.
hesitate to call them stickers, but yes.
I know they were painted on. Sure. So I think this is going to be my value add to the kit, is going to be the sticker sheet. And I am going to try to make the stickers such that you could make any of the 6 orbiters.
I was going to ask what your shuttle name was going to be, but you've just made it.
Right. So and I included Enterprise mostly because I think somebody needs to have the stickers for Enterprise.
Well, I can just see someone wanting to make all of the orbiters.
Which is
So
good.
I'm good with Enterprise. I'm good with Enterprise.
Yeah.
So, and then this is also my chicken scratchings. One of the things that I did is I looked at every mission that included the shuttle and learned a couple things. One of them is Columbia was never part of the International Space Station, even though
It was too heavy.
well, it was too heavy, but it was also because it was lost just after they started building the International Space Station. So,
Same with Challenger.
same as Challenger was well before, right? So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was a.
Yeah,
You're right. Yes, they did
Right.
lose the Challenger before they started building the space station. Thank you
Right.
very much.
Discovery was the youngest of the original shuttles. So, like Joe said, it was actually a lot of lessons were learned. And this is in the order. Columbia was built before Challenger, before Discovery. So Discovery, it turned out that basically Discovery did 13 missions, Atlantis did 12, and Endeavour did 12. So almost all 3 did, but they were the only 3 that ever docked with the station, with the first one being the first flight was Atlantis. I'm sorry.
Endeavor.
Correct. Endeavour was the first flight in 1998. And then the final flight was in 2011 by Atlantis. So I'm guessing that a lot of people that want to display it with the International Space Station will want to do it with one of those 3. Personally, I'm going to do Discovery. I like it's at Air and Space. It did just slightly more missions. And then I also, the ones that are in red were construction missions. The rest were docking where either science was made or it was just supplies or crew changes. So the total number of flights was 37. 28 were done during construction. So where the shuttle was used. There were a few times that protons were used to send up segments. Again, the Russian segments were all sent by proton rockets.
Mhm.
By the way, did you read that another segment might get added in the next
Oh, yeah.
couple of years. So
Mm-hmm.
And they're also looking at putting private segments on it as well.
correct, which I kind of hope so, because I think that could then allow them to invest money to extend its life. I think right now the plan is 2024 with the latest upgrades they've made. But so, Peter, where I'm headed is I've got a series of sketches I'm making that will indicate all the different stickers I need and whether they're on all the versions or then how they are on individuals. And hopefully I'll have that to you in the next, well, except I go to Coda. So it'll probably be in 2 weeks. And I've got this in the drive so that you can start to look at some of the stuff, but I'll have one for each shuttle and then the one that goes for all of them. And then we can start thinking about size and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But so let me, I'll show you a couple of the, in the last 9 minutes. By the way, each shuttle is actually has different markings, and the markings actually changed over time even. Has different markings, and the markings actually. What?
What just happened?
Yeah.
Someone had an echo.
My Facebook app decided to open up to your broadcast.
Well, it's a good broadcast to watch.
Let me.
I will admit, I wish there was some way we could record the after party as an outtake thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That'd be funny.
Okay, share screen, application window.
Yeah, and meanwhile, I am going to be trying to rebuild my Delta 4 Heavy to be more to scale. You
Yeah,
can see I'm already disassembling and reassembling a booster.
Kevin was asking about your Delta 4. He goes, I've never seen your Delta 4 before. That looks great. Can we get some close-up views? So
Well,
now's your
so I am. Whoa! What is happening?
picture. Whoa!
I
Because I just shared my screen.
Okay, so my Delta 4 I'm working on right now is I built Sebastian. How do you pronounce his last name? Sebastian Schoen. He has an umlaut over the O.
I have no idea.
He has a model up on the Bricks in Space site, so I built his. And because I'm neurotic, I discovered it wasn't quite to scale, and I pretty much completely redesigned it so it used to be Sebastian's. I will actually have. I will try to be having instructions for this. Pretty much the entire Delta 4 series, including medium, medium plus, and heavy, with all their payloads.
Yeah, that's great.
Sometime in the next month or so, we'll see.
Nice.
Sorry, who asked that question?
It
What was that?
was Kevin Huang.
Oh, Kevin. Yeah, I'll talk to you if you want to do a test build. Yeah, it's not that hard. Anyway, I'm not on Facebook much anymore nowadays, so like,
So
Need to get on-
here's the model. This is the orbiter shown in open, and my instructions are going to be somewhat similar to Joe's as far as the way I put it together, but the doors, again, that's one sub-assembly that's got two of them, so that really helps it. The Canada Arm, the OMS is going to be the same. The actual upper cabin, which really kind of led to me that should have been a survival capsule. But anyway, kind of like the F-111.
Yeah.
That could have helped. That could actually save the lives of the Challenger. Probably wouldn't have helped Columbia.
Well, and sad note, there is strong evidence to say that they survived the explosion.
Correct.
Or
And they may.
It was an aerodynamic breakup. It wasn't an explosion.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Although Challenger, they thought they might have been alive but not conscious.
Let's not go there because there is a lot of debate about that.
I know it. I know there is.
Anyway.
So the other thing I had to do, and the instructions are going to be a little different than typical, is, let me open it up. My computer seems to be doing a lot of stuff right now.
You've got a lot of windows open.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Chrome is a resource hog.
What is?
Yeah.
Chrome. But yeah, Scott, I was just thinking, with all the moving pieces on this model too, in addition to having the falling brick speed build, we can also animate the shuttle doors and arms opening.
I like that.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. So the way my instructions for the stand are going to be is I've got one that is going to show how to remove the parts. And then this is going to be my example of everything that's orange is going to be something that comes with the ISS.
Okay.
Anything that is not, so that then when I go to the instructions, the steps are going to be, actually, I think I've got these.
You have them all set up with pages?
Kind of, I haven't done my normal tweaking. So let me go to
Okay.
a step better.
But you got them divided into steps.
So basically the first step is to remove the parts. Then we'll be able to show how the parts get added. Actually, I need to get back to there. So then it will show you what parts get added in order to get to the docking version.
Gotcha.
The other weird one is going to be the docking part. And I'm not exactly sure, but I think this is the way I'm going to do it. Is I've modeled a good portion of the ISS. I'm probably going to finish it at some point because I think it would make a good render for putting over the image of the Earth. But then basically this is going to be the sum of my instructions for the modification. I'm just going to show the front. There's the orange piece added. and that is the piece, and I'll have an arrow. Do you think that's going to be enough for?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to show the whole thing.
Right.
This time you're using orange as a meaning you're adding something that didn't exist
In
in the
this
kit.
case.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe it's a different
My only
color.
suggestion would be a different color, so you
Yeah.
clearly show existing versus new.
Purple. Make it purple.
I would use, what is it, police box blue? What are they? TARDIS blue.
Do you know what, Joe? You the man.
Why couldn't I remember the name?
Good old TARDIS blue.
TARDIS blue. Okay.
But not all TARDISes are the same shade.
All the same color.
Well, if I said TARDIS blue, you would know exactly which TARDIS I was talking about.
I know what TARDIS you're talking about in my head. It might be different to the one you're talking about in
It's
Peter's.
the only
but-
TARDIS I know about, so this is news to me that there were different ones.
Well, the first TARDIS was black.
Huh.
Called black and white.
Oh, I just got really bored with this conversation. Anyway, Scott.
Oh, I'm having trouble with my.
Okay. Well,
We're also at 12:01, right, Sam?
yeah.
Yeah, we are. So,
Take those off. All right.
Well,
Okay, so we've gone over a little bit, a couple minutes. Thanks everybody for tuning in to the show. I know it's kind of been a weird episode. I am working on two guests that I am working on getting a date for. One of them is Wolf, and I cannot pronounce his last name, from Bricks in Space.
I'm very excited to meet
Great
him.
guy.
Yep.
So, and that's one that may get recorded because, again, we got another European. So, so he's from Europe. So this might be a more reasonable time for you, Sam. So,
works for me.
yeah. So that one might get recorded. Because we don't have enough Sams, the other one might be Sam, and I'm going to murder his last name, but basically Sam from Lego Masters.
Oh, awesome.
So again, his weekends are pretty full, so we will probably record something for him. So this would be a really good episode to get Samantha involved in, so that we could actually have how many Sams?
You
I would even
You want to
change
do
my
what?
name. I could be a Sam. We could all be Sams.
I'll change my name to Sam.
Yeah.
Sam, I am.
Bruce.
Oh boy.
My name's Bruce. Do you mind if we call you Bruce?
My name's Bruce
Um,
too.
See what I
So
have to
anyway,
tell those people.
So they could be some very exciting shows. Particularly Wolf has done an N1, which is the Russian moon rocket.
Which I want to do his N1.
Yeah, so I'm very intrigued because just like all of us, when we do these models, we learn a lot about what we build, and so I'm as much as the Lego part, I want to learn more about the N1.
Yeah.
Because I know that he's going to know more about that. So
The
anyway,
N1
thanks
is
for coming in.
failure.
Remember, support your local mechanical engineer, and subscribe to our channel, and look forward to announcements for those episodes.